Hey, what's going on, guys? This is your boy C. Will back to you with another video. You seen the title? Don't buy a 4090. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna explain why. But before we do, this is your first time here. Welcome. Here we do everything tech, all things tech, whatever it is, we like to do it. If you're a returning viewer, I appreciate you the most because you keep everything going. And man, if you want to see more content like this, make sure that you hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you receive all my notifications. Let's get things cracking. Yo, look what the cat just dropped in. Man, y'all know it's 4090 day. Shout out to Repo in my Discord. Man, I got probably one of the best Discords out there. Good buddy of mine. And I'm trying to get this thing open, and this is not working. I probably should have used something different. Hopefully on. All right, so I got a better name. So there we go. I should have had first time. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so I'm gonna pull this side out first. Oh, snap. Arctic fans. That also looks 140 millimeter. We got 3 of them. So this is a AIO. Oh snap! NZXT 280 millimeter AIO, and this is so dope. So I'm actually going to use this in my streaming build that we're going to transport the 3080 Ti over to. Oh snap! Okay, look at this. Oh, PCIe 5.0 GPU. Oh, okay. So this is the 16 pin, 12 inch power cable. Yeah, we're gonna be using this for the 4090. This is dope, and it's very sturdy, by the way. So I'm gonna be using this instead of the actual adapter. I don't want to use that adapter, but we'll get to that a little bit later. So here we go. Whew. Well, we got, you see it, Nvidia GeForce RTX 4090, and yes, this is the Founders Edition. And look at this box, man. This thing. Okay, let me just. The presentation that Nvidia has done. Look at that. Lord have mercy. First of all, this thing is massive. Yeah. RTX 4090. I just got this in today from my good buddy down in the Discord, Repo. He sold me his Founders Edition 4090. We got the fan. We're just gonna pull this out inside the actual box. So just so you can see what comes in the box, this is the actual 16 pin adapter. It breaks out into 4 8 pins. With the Founders Edition, the actual recommended power supply is 850 watts. And you actually only need 3 of these, so if you don't have an extra connector, that's fine. You can actually use 3. But I actually, Repo actually did me justice, and we actually have a actual custom 16 pin 12 power cable. So we actually have this, and I'll put a link to this in the description below. But as you can see, not only is the cable longer, it only breaks out into 3 8-pin connectors. And this particular cable actually works with, I think, ASUS power supply, Seasonic, and there's another one. But I have a Seasonic power supply, so we should be good to go with this. Look at this beast. We got the 16-pin connector here. We got a fan on the top, fan on the bottom. This thing is thick. You see how thick this thing is? Goodness gracious. And it's heavy. So without further ado, let's get this installed in the system. I got the side case open. As you can see, I was using the custom cables. So I'm no longer going to use these because I'm going to actually use this cable to plug directly into the power supply. So I'll be able to save those cables. So it's a little dusty in here. I need to dust that out, but that's the 3080 Ti. I'm definitely about to pop that out and do some side-by-side comparisons with that. Okay, so we got both cards next to each other, and look at these behemoths. First of all, the 4090 Founders Edition is 12 inches long, and the 3080 Ti OC is 12.6 inches long. So they're almost the same length. And then I think this is 5.6 inches wide, and I think this is 5.4, or I may have my other way around, so I corrected on the screen. But if we just kind of stack this on top, I think this one is 5.6. So let's look at these side by side and just see the difference in how thick they are. It's crazy. So the 4090 is definitely, it's a big card. Okay, so I got the back of the case off. Yeah. Without that plate, boy, it's a lot of clutter. So again, this is the Seasonic Focus like GX 850 watts. And these are the three PCI connectors that I need to remove. And I'm actually going to use this power supply in my streaming build because the 3080 Ti is going to go into the streaming build. And I'm going to get an actual 1000 watt power supply a little bit later on down the line, probably in the next couple of weeks or so, that I'm going to throw in here because I want to be able to overclock my 4090. And if you're going to overclock, you definitely need a 1000 watt power supply. So this is actually going to end up, this power supply is going to end up going inside the streaming unit. But until then, we're about to pop in the custom cable that's going to plug directly into this. I have a feeling that my glass panel may not fit on, and that's because, they talked about not bending, these, there needs to go something similar to that. I actually bent it just a little bit, but I don't know. We're gonna check this out. One of the concerns, definitely want to make sure we don't have any issues or anything catch it on fire. But I'm not gonna worry about that. We're gonna make sure we plug in everything, do what we're supposed to do. All right, so again, like I say, we got the 16 pin, and so I heard it clip in, and we definitely want to make sure that's in. Now, if we look at this, from the side, I might be all right with the tempered glass. I don't know. It's looking real tight though. You know what I'm saying? So let me see if I can adjust this a little bit and then make sure it's plugged in right. Okay, so as you can see, it's gonna be right up against the glass, but I think I may be all right. This is a very stiff cable, so we'll see, but we're gonna definitely hope for the best. All right, y'all. So yeah, I know I said we're gonna hope for the best. That's crazy. But let me show you this here. So on Amazon, we have the cable that I'm using, and it's the Fast Gear PCIe 5.0. Covers the the 3090 Ti, the 40 series, the 4070 Ti and above. This particular one is for the ASUS EVGA and Seasonic power supplies. I have a Seasonic power supply. And if we scroll down, actually all the way down here towards the bottom, it talks about the Founders Edition. You have the 16 pin going into 3 8 pins, and all three have to be plugged directly into the power supply. But here they actually give you examples of what not to do and what to do. So if it's too close to the connector, do not bend vertically. And then you can actually bend it at 20 millimeters from the actual connector. And it tells you not to bend horizontally. So 20 millimeters, I actually tried this because, in the case with the side panel, with the Lian O11, it's tight. It's like super tight. And so I decided to actually leave the side panel off because I'm actually going to vertical mount the 4090. But if you actually go to, like, again, I have the Seasonic power supply. If you go to their website, they actually sell their own cable, which I thought about buying, but I don't think I really need to. If you scroll down here, their examples say 35 millimeter from a connector, which is actually what I decided to do instead of the 20 millimeter. So it's 35 millimeter, and I'll actually show you what that looks like with an install this way. But I just wanted to kind of stop right here for a second, just show you, say, hey, always check just to be on the safe side. You don't want any issues when it comes to your very expensive GPU. Okay, I got her up and running. And yeah, it gave me a little scare. It's probably because I did You know, I uninstalled the previous drivers, the DDU, and nothing was popping up at first on any of my screens. But we finally got it up. So now I am installing the most updated drivers. And let's test out the card. Okay, so you have no idea. I know you're looking at this screenshot. This is a picture, and I took a picture because I couldn't record it. As soon as I started up 3D Mark or a game, any of those things that would put stress on the GPU, this happened. This is Tech Power Up GPU Z. And as you can see, the GPU clock is like 210. The memory clock, extremely low. But the temp was 88 degrees. Yes. The hot spot was 114, which was ridiculous. And the memory temp was 44 degrees. Look at the fan speed was at 100%, and I could hear it. I let it happen for maybe about 10 seconds before I was like, okay, let me shut this down so I could figure out what's going on. No matter what I did, and look at the board power draw, it says 112 watts, which was crazy. Crazy low for something to be. So I was like, something weird is going on. And then come to find out, I had to take the card apart. So I had to take the 4090 apart. The actual thermal pads that was originally on here were G-lid, which was right here, right here, right here. The rest of these are stock. But the G-lid pads were 2 millimeter. They was too thick. And so the card was overheating and it wasn't running right. So I got this taken apart. It's my first time taking it apart. Took this apart maybe about 4 times last night, trying to figure it out. And then I went to Micro Center, picked up some minus pad 8, 1.5 millimeter, and hopefully this should be good. But I gotta cut these, and I think I got 4 packs, and I think I got just enough to be able to cover the memory. So here we go. Okay, so I cut the pads up, took the film off the bottom, pressed them down, and I'm about to take the top film off. But I had a little bit over. These are 1.5 millimeter pads. The minus pad G8 by Thermal Grizzly, and I still had a little bit left, but yeah, looking good. So hopefully, again, I was only looking to replace this one, and that one. Everything else still should be good. I put the Thermal Grizzly Crowd Knot paste on here and spread it out pretty good. So yeah, I think we should be good to go. All right, let's put this back on. The 1.5 millimeter pads did not. So let me tell you what happened was that I bought the car from a really good friend in Discord. He only had 2 millimeter G-lid pads that he had used with the water block, and there's no information anywhere over the net on what the actual stock pads are that comes with the Founders Edition. Like there's no measurements, saying there's no official information. We have bits and pieces of information here, bits and pieces of information there. So he put on what he had, and so when I got it, testing it out, okay, boom, didn't work. Chopped up on the phone, said, well, probably should use 1.5 millimeter pads. All right. When it got some of those, that didn't work. Was having the same issues what you saw in the screenshot. So went back and let me show you something. So on the internet, the only thing that I found was this link to this instruction manual for the EK water block. And on this instruction manual, now I tell you, like taking apart the Founders Edition car is like extremely easy and very meticulous when it came to certain parts. So like, it either gives you instructions on how to be able to take this apart. Got 4 torque screws, 4 Phillips head screws. Once you take that off, there's 2 ribbons. They're both for the fans. So it's 2 fans on the actual car, one on top, one on the bottom. One on the bottom is for intake. The one on the top is for exhaust. And so there's 2 fan cables that's very thin, kind of give you a little bit of anxiety when trying to take that apart. And then there's this cable right here that's for like the LED. And so like for that, once you take those apart, then boom, you could be able to take off the back side of the bracket, which is also Torx. And then you could be able to take off the actual the spring-loaded retention plate. That's also Torx. And then you could be able to take the PCB out. And so once you do that, now if you get down here, this is the only thing, and I found this out after the fact. So after, saying the 1.5 millimeter pads didn't work, I was like, man. So going back looking at this is where I actually found out that, okay, hey, the memory chips, which are here, 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 are 1 millimeter. And this is correct because if these are too thick, this is what actually kept the actual die from touching the heat spreader, which was causing all the issues and stuff that I was happening. So once I got that straightened out, used some cryo knot, paste, put that back on, and yeah, we was good to go. Okay, just want to show you what the 35 millimeter front of connector looks like. So as you can see here, and kind of do this like that. Kind of see that sticking out. 35 millimeters is like 1.6 inches, I believe, something like that. But yeah, I got my side panel off. That's how I've been rocking it until I get ready to vertical mount it. Oh, just a quick note, what I love about this card is the 0 RPM for the fan. So yeah. And of course up on the bottom, if I can do it, yeah. It's not spinning because it's cool right now. Yes, sir. Okay, so I got a couple of brief, things that I want to go with. While I was switching from the actual 3080 Ti to the 4090. And what you're seeing right here is just a comparison. I have the 3080 Ti gaming OC Strix card, but I'm showing you just how small the difference is between a 3090 and a 3080 Ti. So if you look at both of these are based on the GA102 dies, and then the actual 3090 had 10,496. The 3080 Ti 10,240 cores. Of course, on the 3090 had 24 gigabytes. 3080 Ti is on the 12. Same GDDR6X, and they both had 384 bits bandwidth when it came to the memory as well. Both of these cards are very similar. Basically, the 3080 Ti was like a little brother to the 3090. They're both basically the same card. It's just a cut down version. It was a little bit cheaper. But the actual performance difference in between these two cards was maybe like 5%, something like that. So really, I'm kind of going from a 3090 to a 4090. And so that's why I just brought this up. And as you can see, you can pull this information up on Tech Power's website. But these cards were very identical. And I mean like extremely identical. Memory bandwidth on both of these, if you scroll down a little bit more, even when it came to like, the size, the boost clocks, but even when it came to the, they both had a TDP of 350 watts, but yeah, we know it boosted up to like 400 watts. And I think the boost clock on here was 1860, and on mine was 1815. So yeah, these cards are very similar. I just want to show you this. Comes to the 4090, we got the 8102, 16,384 CUDA cores, 24 gigs of memory, GDDR6X, still 384 bits. But when it comes to like everything else across the board, this card is crazy. So let's take a look at the benchmarks. Okay, so the first set of benchmarks that we got up is 3D Mark. I ran 4 of them. The first one is Port Royal, 25,299. Now let me tell you something for us. I ain't never seen numbers like this. Okay. And I know these are synthetic benchmarks, but Port Royal, it's all about the ray tracing and all that different type of stuff. And I'm just gonna read this out to you because I don't have time to pull this up for the 3080 Ti, but I wrote it down. Okay. The 3080 Ti in Port Royal received 13,278. 13,278, and this is 25,299. It's almost double the performance. Crazy. So a lot of what I've been seeing is, going from the 3080 Ti aka 3090 to the 4090 is about anywhere between 48 to 50% plus increase in performance. Yeah, we're talking about that type of jump. It's crazy. Next up on the list is time spy stream. So 17,938 on the 3080 Ti for a time spy stream was 10,460. Yeah. Next thing up we have is Firestrike Extreme, 42,164. Okay. So 3080 Ti slash 3090, 23,997. And then we have, I ran another test, which was kind of new to me. I never ran this before. So this is the DirectX ray tracing feature test. So it's pretty cool. I got an average frame rate of 134.42, and on the 3080 Ti slash 3090, it received 54.88. So that's over double. So yeah. So even with the synthetic benchmarks, yeah, this thing is 4090 is crazy, man. And as you can see with this gameplay, it's about to get very interesting. I mean, very interesting. What we got up on the screen right now, if you saw my last video that I did where I went over some of the latest games on the 3080 Ti to see if it still had it for 2023. So if you haven't checked out that video, you're about to see a part of it right now. But definitely make sure that you check it out. But if we go back here to the beginning, so what it was showing here is that I actually I use the medium settings when it comes to ray tracing. The custom preset, I changed it to medium for ray traces because on the 3080 Ti, that's what I use. And then what I did is I scrolled all the way down. I made sure everything was on high. But sometimes when you choose the different presets and stuff like that, it kind of switches up. But anywho, that's what I did. So just gonna fast forward just a little bit here. I changed everything to high because some of the settings, when you change to ray tracing medium, it kind of switches over to ultra. So I switched that over and I ran the benchmark. And as you can see at the top left-hand corner of the screen, we'll kind of let this play for a little bit. So as you can see at the top left-hand corner on the screen, you got the FPS at the top, but the average and the 1% lows. But as you can see, the 3080 Ti, the power, I mean, the thing was pushing 400 watts, basically. Almost 9 gigabytes on the actual VRAM. Getting up to about 74, 75 degrees and boost clock 1860. And yeah, this is with the 7950X. But if we fast forward just a little bit here to the end, as you can see, I was getting 75.19, and that was with DLSS. Pause this. This was with DLSS on auto. See that? So this was on auto. I was getting 75.19. That's with ray tracing medium preset, and with the actual options for high on the settings. So you see that, right? Okay. Now I'm going to pull up the recording I did with the 4090. As you can see here, we're going to go into the settings, and with the settings that I choose for this, so as you can see here, I actually choose the ultra preset, but then I turn the actual frame generation off, and I change the actual DLSS to quality. So those are the settings that I use for this, and everything else is on ultra. And I actually run the benchmark. And so if we kind of fast forward a little bit here, well, let me kind of back this up a little bit. Let me show you something. So with the 4090, pretty much pegged 99, 98%. You see the frame rate, 68 degrees, 2715 on the boost clock. Crazy. What we hitting like 430 something watts though. So it's definitely pushing. We got almost 13 gigabytes on the VRAM that we're using. Fan speed is phenomenal. It's only 68%. And then, if we fast forward here to, okay, so let me pause it here. So now we got 76.78. And this is, so the difference between, maybe I could actually flop between, okay, did that work? Probably did. All right. Okay, it's only one. So the difference in between these two is that on the 3080 Ti, I think I had was like 74 was the average.
for the frame rate, but that was on ray tracing medium with high settings. This is ray tracing ultra settings, everything maxed out. Ultra settings on DLSS quality. That's a big difference from ray tracing medium to ray tracing ultra. And yeah, we still now there's say 76.78, but my calculations say 81. But hey, whatever. But when it's on DLSS quality, we're rendering the image at 1440p, which is upscaled to 4K. When it's on auto, which is what I was using on the 3080 Ti, is whatever. It's kind of like, it could render at 1080p, it could render at something even lower than that, depending on the actual situation and what's going on. So, but on quality, you're getting the same, you're getting top notch all the time. So that's the difference in between those two. That's Cyberpunk. I can't wait for Phantom Liberty to come out. I'm going to do a separate video when it comes to frame generation, because I'm going to do some separate testing when it comes to the actual cycle settings on the actual ray tracer with overdrive. It's like the new feature set thing that they came out with. Only the 4090 can actually run it at a respectable frame rate. So we're definitely going to check that out in a separate video that's going to be dedicated just for that, right before Phantom Liberty comes out. And so stay tuned, look out for that. All right, let's move on to the next game. Okay, next up is The Last of Us. Last of Us is definitely, this game was given a lot of cards, especially with the whole VRAM issue and all that different type of stuff, a run for its money. So let's take a look on the 3080 Ti first. Actually, I think I ran this set. Let's take a look at whatever set is that. So, I think with this, I actually use DLSS quality. It was running at 4K, used DLSS quality, and everything was on ultra. Yep, everything on ultra. So let's take a look. All right, so with this, 3080 Ti, paid 100%, 75 degrees, 1890, 1905. All right, so of course, you're starting to see, okay, hey, 3080 Ti, it was pretty much almost pushing 400 watts. Same 10 gigs, well, a little bit over 11 gigs on the actual VRAM, and fan speed 85%. Keep an eye on that. It was taxing. It was hard to keep this card cool. Average FPS 71. So keep that in mind. All right. Now, if we open up The Last of Us on the 4090, fast forward here a little bit. So with this, it's 4K, borderless. And I think we keep on scrolling down. Anti-aliasing mode default. So that means that no DLSS or anything. This is native 4K. All right. And so everything else is on ultra settings. Yep, ultra settings. So I even changed that to ultra just to make sure, because auto, I don't, make sure I change that, and let's take a look. All right, and as you can see here, we got the frame rate, 75, 76, 79, 80. The average is 82. But look at this, 99%, 100%, 64 degrees, 2715 on the boost clock for the 4090. So it's less than the 400 watts. A way more powerful card, running efficient. 12 gigs on the VRAM and 65% on the fan speed. It was like 85 on the 3080 Ti. Remember, I told you to keep an eye on that. And so looking at this, we're averaging about 80 FPS, basically. And this is at native 4K. So no DLSS, no upscaling, none of this stuff. This is native. This is what I'm talking about. Okay. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about, hitting well over 60, averaging well over 60, the 1% lows. Okay. Kind of play around with that, but that's pretty much 60 FPS. But yeah, this is The Last of Us, part 1 that just came out, remake, and it's a beautiful game. It looks phenomenal, especially on the OLED CX. So definitely make sure you check it out. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, next up on the list is Hogwarts Legacy. All right, now on this, this is a 3080 Ti. But let me tell you, the way that I did this, I ran the actual DLSS quality with ray tracing, ultra settings, I believe. For some particular reason, I didn't record the actual settings that I use, but typically I would actually run it with DLSS quality and with ray tracing on ultra. All of the ray tracing settings. I picked it out. But as you can see, basically with this game, I would actually, when I was used to actually just play this all the time, I didn't do ultra settings. I did high. So I could kind of, try to stick around the 60 FPS, but this is ultra. And with DLSS quality, and yeah, it was it's rough. You start flying around, you start doing all this different type of stuff. And again, we're hitting almost 400 watts, 77 degrees. We're pretty much maxing out the actual VRAM almost. And yeah, we averaging about 54 degrees when it came to the 3080 Ti. Now, let me show you the 4090. So the settings that I use on the 4090, let me just pause that for a second. We got resolution 4K. I'm using DLSS quality. It renders at 1440p. And yeah, this is just a tough game to run. I don't even think I even tried to run this at native, because not with the ray tracing and it being on quality and maxing out. I didn't even try to do that. But here's what I can tell you. Here's the results. So this is actually a pretty dope fight. I was fighting some trolls. So while you can see the gameplay while I'm looking at this. So we got the FPS 80. So DLSS quality, ray tracing, everything maxed out. We're averaging about between 80 and 81. So it was 54. We was getting below 60 FPS on a 3080 Ti. But look at this though. It's not even maxing out the 40. It's not even maxing out the 4090. Now I don't know if it's something weird that was going on with the coding. I actually think it's a CPU bottleneck. And so the 7950X, I think, is holding back the 4090 here. And that's because this is not maxing out the 4090. So this is like, 80 something percent of the power of the 4090. So I definitely, this is why, if you see the title of my video, we start talking about, okay, why you shouldn't buy a 4090. And it was really more of, satire. But it's really more of it really starts to make you think a lot about your hardware. Your monitor that you're using, whether or not it's high refresh rate 4K, which I would have never thought about. Your CPU, what I'm saying, your RAM, all this different type of stuff. You start thinking about, oh, I need to upgrade this, I need to upgrade that. And here I'm like, okay, I got a 7950X, which came out the end of last year. But they came out with the X3D chips, and I'm gonna talk about that a little bit more towards the end of the video. But a 7800 X3D, just for gaming, is looking real enticing right now. Either that or a 13900K, but I actually want to stick with the AM, 5 chipset. And that's just because, I could we got at least about another generation or two. I can still use the same motherboard and all this different type of stuff. So take a breath. All right. So, and as you can see here, we're only using 300 some watts. Power, fan speed is 65%, which is phenomenal. Yeah, this is weird. But yeah, the quality is still great and everything. But I think this is the first game I saw where I'm like, wait a minute, why is it not maxing out? And I've tried all different type of settings and stuff, and yeah, it's just weird. So it's like super weird. But the thing that I came up with is that, yeah, 7 is CPU bottleneck. That's the only thing I think of. So if you have any other type of explanation, hit me down in the comments below to let me know. But this is what I came up with. So yeah, Hardware Laser. I love this game. Moving on. Okay, next game that we got here is Resident Evil 4. This is the actual demo. With this, we're looking at the 3080 Ti, and like the this is pretty much, you got the presets here, and we're running this at 4K. I think I switched this over to FSR2. Did I? Did I leave it? Oh, this is native 4K. Oh, this is good. All right. So this is actually a native 4K. And let me tell you something. Whatever Capcom did with this, it utilized. This game runs like butter. Okay, so we're, I think, towards the end of this. I forgot what we was averaging, but let me just fast forward a little bit here. Oh yeah, especially because I think I changed it. All right, so this game, we're averaging about 64. 1% lows is 53. Taxing, pretty much been seeing this, 400 watts on the 3080 Ti, 89% on the fan speed. Yeah, it's crazy. 76 degrees. Yeah. So, that's the Resident Evil 4 on the 3080 Ti. Let's switch over to the 4090. I did the same thing. I did 4K native. Didn't switch anything. This is why I record stuff, so you could be able to see stuff for yourself. Nobody really does this in the review community. They don't, they just show you all these charts and all this different type of stuff, which is cool, if you're doing 15, 14 games or whatever. But I actually like to show you like this is not real time, it's recorded, but I actually like to show you exactly what your hardware is. So if you put this CPU, this GPU together, you can see exactly, my room it doesn't have great airflow. I think I talked about this before. It's usually about 74, 75 degrees, but look at this. At native 4K, we're averaging 156. So I want you to think about this for a second. We're more than doubling the frame rate of the performance of the 3080 Ti. Rewind this video to go back, saying just a minute or so ago. Look at what we're doing now. It's freaking phenomenal. So if you, like myself, if you have a high refresh rate 4K monitor, I'm using my TV as a monitor, which is a LG CX 120 hertz. You're taking advantage of it right here. Native 4K on an OLED. This game looks freaking phenomenal. And when I say it's phenomenal. And this is where your mind just starts to go another place. Gaming like this is like top tier. It doesn't get much better than that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. And if I just fast forward a little bit here to a different scene, I actually want to show you the scene. So when we get to, oh yeah, here we go. So I'm fighting. So it's basically, it's almost like World War III of the villages, when I get here. But this scene on the demo is like crazy. It's like super crazy. But man, these people are crazy, man. I'm talking about, how many times I die right here is crazy. But being able to actually, being able to play at this type of level with this level of detail, oh man, it's amazing. It makes you want to just play all your games like this, maxed out, just like how the developers created the game. Combining the actual 4090 with a really good processor, you're with the right monitor TV, bliss. All right. So we're actually moving into the last game before I come up with the conclusion, about the actual 4090. But this next game, yeah, okay. Y'all didn't think I was gonna get a first-person shooter in on this thing. Now, I did not, test this on the 3080 Ti. This is specifically for the 4090, and I'm gonna talk specifically about CPU. All right, so this game right here. So let's go through the settings. Pause this for a second. So display, I'm playing at 1440p. This is the only game that I actually tested at 1440p. And that's because the monitor that I have 1440p is 165 hertz. I want to be able to take advantage of that. I didn't try this in 4K. If I want to play on the highest refresh rate monitor that I have. So I tested this at 4K at a different. When I get a better monitor, I test this at 4K. When I say better, I mean a higher refresh rate monitor. So something maybe like a 4K 144 hertz, 200 something hertz. I don't know. But this one was at 1440p. And I think, let me just keep going here. I think I did the actual quality. So yeah, I kept it at Ultra DLSS. Then I changed. I hit Show More. Yep, and DLSS quality. That's what I chose, right? So I did a number of different configurations, and I still get the same result. So when I chose this, let me show you something. So once we skip through all of the matchmaking, all right, here we go. All right, so keep an eye. I'm actually going to pause this. Okay, so I'm in the parachute dropping out with 175 FPS. Look at this, 82% on the 4090. 82%. But look at the 7950X. It's at 41%. Now, this is the only game I've seen that well, no, not the only one. Division 2 is like crazy on the CPU. This right here was like, okay, I wasn't expecting this. Okay. I wasn't expecting for this to be using the 41% of a 16 core, 32 thread, CPU. Look at the power that's being 121 watts. That's when you know it's some it's being used. All right, so I get into this little scuffle. I'm tagging them, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, why is this only 70? Look at that, 75% of the 49. I'm dumbfounded. I'm like, I'm usually a person that watch a lot of benchmarks, gameplay videos, or like especially if it's something I'm about to get ready to buy. Like I go, I probably watched maybe about 100 videos about the 49. I just don't remember seeing this. This right here alone, I'm like, okay, this CPU bottleneck. If I had a 13900K or an X3D chip, 7800 X3D or 7950 X3D, I would be getting higher frame rate. Now, flip side to this, first of all, I thought 1440p, ultra settings, 165 hertz, good. I don't competitively game just like this all the time. But after seeing this, I'm like, I want me a 240 hertz, 1440p monitor. I don't even need that, but I want one. I just started saying to myself, okay, so if you the type of person that, that plays COD all the time, thinking about getting a 4090, hey, bro, it's 3 CPUs that I would recommend for the 4090. First one is a 7800 X3D. Just across the board, this CPU is pretty much obliterating everything. $419. Yep, it's pretty steep. It's 8 cores, 16 threads. It's really good on power. And it's all on one chip. It's not a split chip like the 7950X 3D. This is 2 chips. So you got 8 cores on the side, 8 cores on the side. Only one of the 8 cores has the stack, 3D cache, and the other one doesn't. The other chip is higher clock, and the 3D cache chip is not so much higher clock, but that's because it has the all of the cache and stuff on it. And so the problem with this particular chip, though, is that there was a lot that was going on of different configurations and stuff that you had to do with inside Windows in order to get it the game right. So like if you was gaming, it was only using the 3D, side of the actual die and not the other side. So you could be able to take advantage. It's crazy. Things with Windows scheduling. I don't know if that has gotten better. There's been updates and stuff like that. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. I have been able to test it out personally myself. And then you have the 13900K, which this has always been is actually cheaper than the 7950X. These 3 I would recommend for a 4090. Anything less than these 3 I would not recommend. I'm not saying that they wouldn't work. I have a 7950X. We just saw what happened with that, but I'm just saying. Okay, so there's so much to talk about with the 49. I can't fit it all in one video. We got a lot of stuff, a lot more testing to do. We were talking about DLSS 3, frame generation, more games, creator benchmarks and testing, it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff that we need to do that we haven't even scratched the surface yet. So you want to see more content like this, if you made it to the end of the video, applaud yourself, pat yourself on the back. You did great, but definitely don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you receive all my notifications. I'm so happy with this purchase and what it means for the channel. Check out that last video, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.